It's time for Hey, I'm Talking Here with Frankie Corrado.
Frankie Corrado joins us, our NHL analyst, and it's time to talk about the fact that since the 05 lockout, 80% of the teams that had a playoff position by U.S. Thanksgiving ended up making the playoffs every year. Last year, 13 of 16 teams in a playoff position at this point ended up making the postseason. Let's check out the Eastern Conference as it stands right now. Maybe not a lot of surprises about who's currently in and currently out, but Frankie, when you look at the standings as they currently sit, do you think these are the 8 teams that will make the postseason?
As of right now, Jay, I'd say yes. Like, there's a very good chance these are going to be the 8 teams. And I guess the biggest surprise out of all of those might be Washington. Like, everyone had just given away that playoff position to God knows who. And Washington has come in this season, and they're scoring more goals than anyone else in the NHL this year. And, like, they're a really nice story. If there is a team outside of the playoff picture who I think can still make it, I think I'm still with the Ottawa Senators. Like, their numbers, if you take a look under the hood, as far as what they are not giving up defensively, it's so much better than how they've been in the past. Linus Ullmark just hasn't been able to play at the level that they thought he would be able to play at, and obviously that has been a big reason why they're lower in the standings, and you pair that up with some players that haven't really finished at the rate that you'd hope. But if there was one team on the outside looking in that I think still has a chance to get in, it would be Ottawa, and it would probably come at the expense of the Boston Bruins, who just a lot has gone wrong for them this year. And if Swayman plays really well, like, that can clean a lot of things up. But there's not enough offense there for Boston to sustain being, ahead of a lot of these other teams, and I think Ottawa would be the one that could potentially catch them.
Oh, man, music to Sens fans' ears. Let's check out the West. We all remember last season, the Oilers 10 points out of the playoffs at this point of the season. They end up making the Cup final. Now they're just a single point out. You also see the Predators all the way in last of the conference. Frankie, how do you see the Western Conference playing out?
The Oilers are going to get in. Like, there's a lot of the same suspects here as far as who's going to get in, who's going to stay in. I think everything stays the same except for the Oilers that are in, and that is going to have to come at the expense of the Calgary Flames, who have been such a great story this whole season, and Dustin Wolf really is the ringleader for that. Like, they've been propped up onto his play. But ultimately, as time goes on, we're going to see the Oilers, some of their players finish a little better. At some point, they're going to have to make some kind of addition on the blue line because there's a big hole there. The Oilers will make the playoffs, and I don't see Vegas leaving. I don't see the Canucks leaving, and I don't see the LA Kings leaving. So that leaves the Calgary Flames, who probably will end up better than maybe a lot of people thought. Like, I don't know if people thought this was going to be a basement team, but it's clearly not. Like, they have something going well for them this year, but Edmonton is getting in. And the team that is probably going to have to lose their spot, it would make the most sense if it's Calgary.
It's interesting because, Frankie, right, we talked about Celebrini, Michkov, Hudson at the start of the season for the Calder, and now Dustin Wolf is very much making his presence felt as far as the Calder is concerned. I want to talk about the Oilers, too. You and pretty much every single hockey analyst, not just working for us, Frankie, but working for every network in the land, had Edmonton winning the Stanley Cup. It's been an inconsistent start to the season for the Oilers, but do you stand by your pick?
I would be willing to change my pick now. I think there's a few things that have gone wrong for the Oilers. Number one, like, you had some players that had career years, last year, the year before. You can't bank on that every single season. So, someone like Zach Hyman, who you can see is clearly working through it, he's not going to have the offensive output that he had last year. The D-core is there's such a glaring hole there, especially when it comes to like a top 4 defenseman that they don't have. They were closer to having it when they had Cody Ceci on their team.
Yeah.
Now they don't have Cody Ceci, and they're further away from having that, and that's a huge issue. And Stuart Skinner, as much as he played well in the playoffs last year, it's sort of the same old story where, like, okay, is this really the guy that's going to bring you to a Stanley Cup? So I would probably revise my pick at this point and say that, if I had Dallas and Edmonton playing each other in the Western Conference Finals, I'd be willing to say that Dallas is going to the final, and probably this is the year for the Carolina Hurricanes. if their goaltender Kochetkov and hopefully Freddie Anderson at some point can stay healthy, Carolina looks like they have something going on where they have a little more free-flowing offense that's coming a little easier to them, and hopefully that's the case for them in the playoffs, because that's one of the things that always seems to hold them back. And with those two teams playing, I think the depth and the structure of the Dallas Stars and the goaltending and Jake Ottinger, that would probably be where I would lean right now at this point in the season when it comes to who would win the Stanley Cup.
And it's interesting, Pierre LeBrun said on this show just last week, Frankie, that the Carolina Hurricanes are one of the teams potentially interested in John Gibson. So it would be interesting to see if they added a goaltender of that caliber down the stretch. Okay, let's talk about the Hart Trophy race at this point. FanDuel has Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov, Frankie, as the favorite for the Hart Trophy. Connor McDavid trails him by 7 points. He is the second favorite, according to FanDuel. You have a vote for the Hart, Frankie. This is exciting for me. You're moving up in the world. Would Kaprizov be your pick at this point? And look ahead to April. Give us a prediction on who you think will actually win this thing.
I know, Jay. It's funny how things change, eh? Not so long ago, I was just sitting there with you, deer in the headlights. Now I get to vote on this award, and it is an honor. And if I was voting today, my number one vote would be for Kirill Kaprizov. And there's a few reasons why, okay? If you just look at the stats, okay, he's second in the league in points. He's top 5 in goals. He's obviously well-rounded in that regard. But we also have to keep in mind what this player means to his team. Like right now, this is similar to Kucherov last year, and why Kucherov gained so much, steam and momentum. Not just the points, but the points based on how much the team is scoring. Kirill Kaprizov is accounting for 50% of his team's offense right now. Like, that is very significant on a team, Jay, that is a middle-of-the-pack team when it comes to the goals that they're able to put up. So he doesn't have that wingman like McKinnon has Rantanen, or Matthews has Marner, or McDavid has Draisaitl. He's got nice players. He's got Boldy. He's got Marco Rossi. But he really is, he's such a centerpiece for this team, and he's doing so much for them. So as of right now, he would be my number one vote for the Hart.
I'm very curious to see, because Kaprizov is due a new contract very soon, whether someone will be able to pry him out of the Midwest away from the Wild, or if he'll still sign with the Wild long term. We'll have to wait and see. Frankie, we didn't have any hockey on Thursday, but you made up for it. This is a terrific chat. Have a great weekend, buddy.